And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, a real estate and finance expert, and goes to bat for you every day as your consumer advocate. Your host, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media and providing you the timely truths centered around real estate, credit, finance, estate planning, tax planning, book publishing, and so much more. You're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, where our number one goal is to educate, entertain, and help our consumers win in any marketplace.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Now, I want you to pull out your smartphone and save our consumer advocate hotline number in your phone. It's 813-917-1894.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
813-917-1894 is our consumer advocate hotline. You can call or text that number. And I want you to bookmark realestateradiotampa.com. That's our website, blog site. You can see links to all of our preferred partners under the Expert Contributor tab. You can watch our live stream, maybe your computer at your work. Pull up realestateradiotampa.com, and you can listen and watch the live stream as well. We've got cameras in studio, and we've got a plethora of information, repurposed content on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel and our facebook.com/REQB show. We're on LinkedIn. We're on all the major networks out there, Instagram and Twitters and all that fun stuff. So we've got Intelligent Talk Radio. I've got some intelligent folks here in studio, and this segment is brought to you by Total Title Solutions. They are the official title partner of the Real Estate Quarterback Show. Total Title Solutions for all of your title closings and real estate closings is the official partner here of the Real Estate Quarterback Show. And let's go ahead and round the horn here and make our introductions. First up is going to be Miss Tara Richter, Richter Publishing. Welcome in.
Thanks for having me. Today we're going to talk about how you can write a book in 4 weeks.
Awesome. That sounds pretty easy. 4 weeks.
It is pretty easy. When you use my method, it's actually pretty easy.
Love it. Love it. Excited about it. So let's go ahead and jump into this great content. Tara Richter and Richter Publishing. Let's talk about how folks out there, especially small business owners, folks that want to grow their sphere of influence, how they can accomplish that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically I specialize in working with business owners, on how to write their nonfiction story in 4 weeks, publish a book to get them on TV and radio and make them an expert in their industry. So there's big myths out there that you have to spend years and years writing a book in order for it to be a good book. And that's actually not true. In this day and age with technology, computers, everything can be done so quickly, as well as writing a book. So I actually have a process where I can sit with you, I can interview you, pull all the information out of your brain, put it on paper, give that to my editors, and then we go through, edit, clean it up, and within 2 weeks, we can actually give you back a manuscript that's about, 100 to 200 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really fast, and, it's a really awesome process for business owners because, as entrepreneurs, we just don't have time to sit down and write. We're doing 20 million different things. Yep. So with my company, since we can actually utilize, the technology, do it very quickly, get it out there to the marketplace, this is something that business owners need, and they really need quickly to have another tool in their toolbox, like, for example, being a real estate agent. There's so many real estate agents out there, especially in Florida. And so what's going to make you stand out from the crowd? Why are people going to come to you?
That's right.
And the cool thing is that as soon as you publish a book, you are considered an expert in your industry.
That's right. Yeah, instead of handing out your business card, you're going up to the client, you're running that listing appointment, you're saying, hey, I'm a published author. Whatever company, industry you're in, it's a way to grow your sphere of influence and just separate yourself, differentiate yourself from the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I have authors who actually just give their books away for free, because if you're going to get a client that maybe is a potential, $10,000 to $20,000 in your pocket,
right,
what's $2 to $3 of a book?
Right.
To give that to them. And the whole thing is with business cards, people lose them. With brochures, people throw them away.
Yep.
But with a book, no one is going to throw a book away. It's going to sit there on their desk. It's going to stare at them day in and day out, and it's going to be a constant reminder about you and your business.
That's right, yeah. And it's also one of those things where you can get out in front of the rebuttals or those frequently asked questions. And what we've done with our book, if you're watching live stream, I'm holding it up here. This is our first book. I'm working on a second book with Tara now. But, we brought in all of our partners. So we have experts from different, estate planning, property management, home inspection, solar technology, all the different areas that as far as a consumer quarterback playbook, that's what we've done with our book. So think of outside the box what you might apply to your business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, the cool thing is that you know that, like, we just published a book with Kevin Harrington, the shark from ABC Shark Tank, and also Anthony Amos, so we have even people that are famous entrepreneurs. But the cool thing about publishing a book is if you're not famous or say you don't have a PhD or an MBA, there's actually research now that shows becoming a published author puts you up at that same level.
Yeah.
So, because there is a debate about, like, should you put your picture on the front of a book if you're not famous? And I say to that, you should put the picture on the front of the book in order to become famous.
Yeah, I agree. Depending on how you want to brand yourself and the strategy you have behind the book, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. And it's perfect for our platform here with the Real Estate Quarterback Show, the Consumer Quarterback Show. By the way, if you just joined us, we've got Tara Richter Publishing in studio. We're going to hear from Scott Maurer at Vanta IRA and co-host Connor Anthony here in studio. So yeah, you're right on point, Tara. I love what you're doing. The community, you're well respected in the community. We know a lot of the same people, and Kevin Harrington, Anthony Amos, two great guys as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And, some of the other things we offer is we have workshops and webinars that people can join in, and I actually can give them the method of how to write a book in 4 weeks themselves if, they don't have the funds to hire us to actually write it for them. So we do monthly workshops, and we have one coming up on Tuesday, March 15th. And anybody can tune in online anywhere. If you go to my website, which is richterpublishing.com/events, you can go and sign up. It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. at night. And actually, the title of this webinar is, "Oh my God, I need to write a book about that."
Nice. Love it. Yeah, 'cause there's so many niches nowadays, especially with this internet, social media, where we're at, and marketing. What a great way to get your message out.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Because the whole thing is, if you have this little nagging voice in the back of your head that keeps saying, I need to write a book about that, or if people keep coming up to you and they're like, you should really write a book about that, then that's probably the subject matter that you should focus on, to get that out into the world.
Yeah, the wealthiest place I've heard it said is in the planet is the graveyard, because people have died with these great ideas that they just, I need to do this one day, and one day never gets here. I think it was Les Brown that talked about that. But, it's right on point, So that's, I want you to think of this show as the hub of your financial wheel and business wheel. And each spoke extending out represents another one of our preferred partners, the finest folks in all of Tampa Bay, thoroughly vetted, and they are the absolute best in their specific category. So more from Tara Richter here, Richter Publishing, how to write a book in 4 weeks. Really interesting content there as well. And we want to remind you, we're on realestateradio.tampa.com. You see links to all of our social media sites. You can see all of our video libraries and some of our previous partners and expert contributors under the Expert Contributor tab. So stay with us. The best is yet to come. You're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, realestateradio.tampa.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
And so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into our Ask the REQB segment here, and we want you to utilize that hashtag Ask the REQB on all your social media. Any questions you have for us, jump on Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, and if you utilize that Ask the REQB hashtag, Connor Anthony, co-host here, is going to read those questions out on air.
Oh, okay, cool. I was waiting for my cue. Okay, I'll take that's my cue. The first one's going to be for Tara, and this is coming from Susan off of Facebook. And remember, everyone, you can go onto our Facebook. It's facebook.com/REQB show. And Susan's asking, can you just kind of explain about the ghostwriting process a little bit?
Sure. Well, actually, my company doesn't use ghostwriters. So basically what a ghostwriter is when someone would come in, sit down and interview you, take the concepts of your book, go back, write them, maybe take 2 to 3 months, come back, talk to you again, get more information, go back, write it. And what they're basically trying to do is kind of put themselves in your shoes and tell your story from their perspective. So the reason why I don't like ghostwriting like that is because, I haven't walked in your shoes. I haven't done like Brandon's, line of business. So therefore, I don't know the emotions and the feelings because I haven't lived your life. I haven't walked in your shoes. So our process is actually different. And that's the other reason why it's way faster. Because what I do is I come in and I sit down and interview the author from somewhere between 4 and 5 hours. We basically speak the book out. And then when we take that information, because, we record it and then we transcribe it and then we edit it. And then, our great staff of editors actually kind of rip it apart, put all the information back in, and they rewrite it using your own words, but fleshing it out so that it sounds like you actually sat down and wrote the book yourself.
Very cool.
And that's a really popular thing with autobiographies, right? With either athletes. I know that a couple presidents, all the presidents, you have these successful books out like Warren Buffett, whatnot. Like that's a really popular thing for, I guess, quote unquote, famous people to do.
It is. And that's actually the process that we used with the Shark book is I sat down with Kevin Harrington. I sat down with Anthony. I interviewed them. And the cool thing about this is that then we keep their voice because when a ghostwriter is doing it, you lose the author's voice. Like Anthony, if people don't know him, he's from Australia. He's a big, huge rugby player. He has his Australian accents and everything and his, certain words. And then, Kevin Harrington is completely different. So the cool thing with this is that we kept their voices. So basically, as we go back and forth in chapters, oh, yeah, this is Anthony. If you met Anthony, you're like, this sounds like Anthony and this sounds like Kevin. So it's super cool because if you've read, which I'm sure, you guys have read a ghostwritten book, and then you meet the person and you're like, this isn't them at all. This is not their personality. And that's because somebody else wrote it. But with this process, you have no idea that they weren't the ones who sat down and wrote it because we keep their voice.
Yeah, because I could see how that could turn some people off, especially if you're the scenario we gave in the first segment where, rather than handing out your business card to a potential prospect for your business, you hand them that book and that's going to elevate your status immediately.
Absolutely. And, I've read this book by a woman who lives here locally, and she went through a really horrific thing. Like, long story short, her brother murdered her twin brother and her mother.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it happened up in Seffner, like, I think in the 70s or something, and she walked in on it. Well, that's a horrible situation, and she had a book. We actually met at a book event, and we swapped books because I really wanted to read her story, and I just wanted it to take me on this emotional roller coaster of what happened, but it was ghost-written, and it just wasn't there. The writer was an excellent writer, and they had really good details, but they couldn't capture what it felt like to walk in and see your mother murdered.
Wow.
And it was just sad. I couldn't finish the book. I had to put it down halfway through, and I kept trying to finish it, and I just couldn't.
Wow.
So that's the difference between the ghostwriting and my process.
All right, cool. Thank you. That's I think it's a really fascinating process because the ghostwriter is also kind of like the behind the scenes. Like they'll get your book on the bestseller list without taking any credit, kind of the guy behind the scenes. Our next one.
All right, we're going to enter our lightning round now. All right, so top consumer advocate tips. Things to do, things to avoid. Tara Richter, Richter Publishing, you're up first.
Well, one tip that I want to give any of the listeners who are thinking about writing and publishing a book, whether they go through me or they're researching other publishers out there, one main question that they want to ask is, where will your book be distributed? Because the problem is I've come across a few publishing houses that actually do not put the book on distribution channels. So fun fact is anybody can print an actual book and have a physical book, but if it's not on distribution channels, you are not a published author. And so these people are getting ripped off and taken advantage of, which it really upsets me, because they're charging the same amount of money that I am, but yet they're not a published author.
Wow.
They just, walk out with 100 books. So anybody that you're going to use, make sure to ask, where is my book going to be distributed?
Yep.
Your book should be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Kindle, Nook, iTunes. It should be out there everywhere. My company, it's on millions of distribution channels all over the world, even in the UK and, everywhere.
Yep.
So that's like a really important question, is that you have to ask, where is my book going to be distributed? So you don't fall into that trap of, I have a printed book, but then no one can find you online.
Yeah, great point. It's all about getting it out there, and it's also important to have friends, family, business partners review, like, share, comment. Those are all very important as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's happening, and the Tell Me Something Good. We're kind of running out of time, but let's go ahead and we'll get a quick one in. You got a quick Tell Me Something Good?
I do. Last year, we actually, Richter Publishing donated 300 books to the Joshua House Library, which is a center here in Tampa Bay that helps displaced children.
Awesome.
So
Love
that
it.
was
Love
really
it.
good.